with our Pledge of Allegiance by a very special guest, Jace Savage. You're gonna say the pledge? Here you go.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jace. Thank you, Jace. Dr. Whiting will do the statement of acknowledgement in honor of indigenous and diverse communities.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We begin this meeting with acknowledgement of and honor for the many legacies that have impacted our community, particularly those buried over time. Acknowledging truth is critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. Cheltenham Township stands within the Lenape-Hoking, the ancestral homeland of the Lenni Lenape civilization. Their people were, and still are, caretakers of this land and its rivers, and their legacy continues. We pay respect to their elders past and present. Our community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together. As a school district committed to fostering intellectual curiosity and discourse in service of social justice, join us in uncovering such truths.
Thank you, Dr. Whiting. Ms. Hatcher will provide the roll call.
Good evening. Ms. Blisting.
Present.
Mr. Burdell Williams.
Present.
Mr. Epps.
Present.
Ms. Henry.
Present.
Ms. Lohman.
Present.
Ms. Mulhern.
Present.
Ms. Murphy.
Present.
Mr. Schultz.
Mr. Schultz will not be present this evening.
Dr. Whiting.
Present.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Ms. Hatcher. Next, we will have public comments on agenda items only. If you are in the room and you have a comment on an agenda item, feel free to approach the podium here, state your name and where you reside in the district. Public comments are, by board policy, reserved for 3 minutes. Okay, we will move on to school recognitions. Will be provided by Mr. Taylor from Wyncote Elementary School.
Good evening, President Henry, board members, Dr. Scriven, Ms. Savage, members of the cabinet. It's my pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you this evening about the exciting happenings at Wyncote and how we roar. I've decided to take a slightly different approach this year. In past years, you've heard from me about Wyncote, my voice, my lens, my perspective. Tonight, you've already heard from one of our students. And shortly, you will hear from 2 of my colleagues, two young and extremely gifted professionals, Mrs. Sippa, our art teacher, and Mr. Storino, one of our speech language pathologists. And you will also hear more student voices. But fear not, you'll also hear from me. Ms. Hatcher, next slide. At Wyncote, we root everything in our vision and mission, which is aligned very closely, if not word for word, with the instructional framework of the district. At Wyncote, we believe that if we can choose to be anything, we intentionally choose kindness. And we make that choice visible in the following ways as outlined in our instructional plan. We believe that all students can and will achieve academic success. They engage with and master standards of the state. We provide student-centered, rigorous, and meaningful learning experiences. And we are constantly assessing data to adjust our instructional practices and intervene and enrich where necessary. Have no fear. You knew he was going to pop up sooner or later tonight. Our beloved Fred Rogers reminds us that we all have different gifts. So we all have different ways of telling the world who we are. Jace tonight told us who he is. And now I'm going to invite Mrs. Sippa, our art teacher, to tell us how our children see the world through art. Madison.
Thank you. If you don't mind going to the next slide. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Madison Sippa, and I'm the proud art teacher of Wyncote Elementary School. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight about our students and our art program. The artwork displayed on the walls around you represents the creativity and artistic expression of the emerging young artists at Wyncote. Our art curriculum is designed to celebrate the diversity of cultures and artistic traditions from around the world, fostering both cultural appreciation and individual creativity. During the months of September and October, our students celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month by engaging in projects that honored the beauty and cultural significance of Hispanic artistic traditions. Students honored Ojalata tin art, viewed carreta wheels of Costa Rica, drew llamas from around the world, and created pieces inspired by indigenous cacti native to Mexico. Beyond cultural exploration, students also found inspiration in the natural world, particularly the changing of the seasons, experimenting with various artistic techniques such as painting starry night skies and blending chalk pastels to capture atmospheric effects. This year, our art program has also expanded to include the use of Artsonia, a digital portfolio platform that connects families directly to the art classroom. Through the generous support of a grant from the Cheltenham Grant Foundation, we were able to purchase light boxes, as seen on the screen, and establish a dedicated documentation area in our art room. Utilizing district-funded iPads, students now have the opportunity to professionally photograph their artwork and compose thoughtful artist statements reflecting on their creative process. If you don't mind going to the next slide, thank you. The Artsonia platform has allowed families to engage more deeply with their children's artistic journeys. Parents, grandparents, siblings, and extended family members can view, comment on, and celebrate student artwork from anywhere in the world. In only a month, 80% of our families are connected to Artsonia, and hundreds of comments have been left on student artwork, as seen on the screen. The comments displayed here demonstrate the enthusiasm and encouragement that families have shared with our young artist. We extend our sincere gratitude to the Cheltenham Grant Foundation and to the district for their continued support. Their contributions have made it possible for our students to grow in both confidence and visual literacy through the integration of technology in the art-making process. At Wyncote Elementary, the art room remains a welcoming space for all students, a place where every child, regardless of ability, background, or interests, can shine. Whether or not a student is the top athlete, most popular, or highest achieving academically, the art room provides an inclusive environment that nurtures creativity, self-expression, and belonging of every learner. Thank you for your ongoing support of the arts.
Next slide. So as you know, this was a new beginning this fall for all of our elementary schools. Next to Fred Rogers, one of the most important men in my life, as I shared with you last month, was my grandfather, who always taught us, and it's a phrase that's not unique to him, to have a plan, plan your work, and work your plan. And that is exactly what we did at Wyncote with the help of everybody in this room to get us ready to welcome our fifth graders. So in August, we welcomed our youngest learners on the left, our kindergartners who already had plenty to say. And then we were glad and delighted to welcome our fifth graders back to Wyncote this fall. Next slide. It's a little fuzzy, but on the left, I was delighted to see that while the kindergartners were more than happy to have a hug on the first day of school, so were the fifth graders, which was right up my alley. And then we have two fifth graders walking into the building just laughing, which has sort of captured how we all have been and the delight that we've had in welcoming all of our learners back. Next slide. We ground everything we do in data. The next two slides will help frame the rest of the presentation. You all are familiar with this data on the board, showing that literacy took a slight hit this past year at Wyncote, and so much of our work this year is focused around literacy initiatives. Next slide, please. Our 3-year trend data that we have for August, September, and October, these are our PBIS referrals, and you can see that we have really worked very hard to create a positive climate and culture for our teachers, our staff, and our students. Every month this year, our average number of referrals has fallen, which is terrific, and it aligns with our perception data that we take in the spring that shows the majority, like 99% of our kids, respond affirmatively to the statement, "I like coming to school." And there's the evidence of that. The data, next slide, the data grounds us in the importance of literacy. So we're trying all kinds of different avenues into inspiring young readers. Last week was our Literacy Week, where we really focused on collaboration with our PTO and the book fair. We had our annual Reading Under the Stars program, where teachers pitched tents in the gym and sat in tents and read to children by little electric bonfires that were glowing in the gym. It was a great evening, and all of our stakeholders were involved: teachers, parents, students, and staff. Next slide. As part of our PBIS program, we do have monthly school-wide incentives. Last week, we had a school-wide bingo event. Dr. Russell was our caller over the intercom. Every class had a bingo board unique to their room, projected onto their smart board. Children had individual boards. Clues were given about a variety of stories, and if they could guess the title of the story and it was on their bingo board, they covered it up. And then whoever called into the office first won. And of course, we ended the week, next slide, Ms. Gwen. We ended the week with our book parade, book character parade. Thank goodness the slide on the left is fuzzy. Our teachers and staff all went as Smurfs, and I was Papa Smurf. I'll do just about anything for the Wyncote Elementary School. And we always parade over to our neighbors at Wyncote Place. We have a wonderful partnership with the residents at Wyncote Place. Our first graders are their pen pals. So they write monthly letters to the residents. And then in the spring, they go over and actually meet their pen pals. We have conversations about the life cycle with our students, because some of their pen pals aren't there in the spring when we show up, but they sing songs with each other. It's just a great 20 minutes in the spring. Next slide, please. But what I am most particularly proud of is the work we have done with our autistic support program at WinCode. These are students who are seldom recognized, which is a major reason I wanted to have Jace here tonight. He has worked so hard for 4 years to be the person he is and to develop his voice to be able to tell the world who he is. And he tells us every day who he is. And it is a real gift to have 3 sections of autistic support classrooms in our building. In many ways, they are the heartbeat of our building. They are known to every child. Our program design is unique for each child. It aligns with their educational programming in their IEP. We're always offering our autistic students the least restrictive environment. They are included in the general ed classrooms always for lunch, always for specials, sometimes for social studies and science, sometimes for reading, sometimes for math. It is a challenge to manage these schedules, and our autistic support teachers do it effortlessly. We do have many, many paraeducators in our building. We are working hard to make sure that they are fully engaged with our students, with the students they're working with. Some have one-on-ones with them all day. Some we're discovering that we can begin to fade over time the amount of support we're providing for them so that they can become more and more independent as learners. We have developed a wonderful partnership, and our teachers and para staff are receiving lots and lots of training and support from Patan this year for our second year, also through the IU. But a ton of support comes right here from our own district, from our Office of Special Education. And I am so grateful for being able to always reach out to Dr. Katz's office and ask questions 2 and 3 times and always get an answer. So I'm grateful for that. The next few slides are going to highlight our autistic support program. These students are receiving direct instruction in reading and math in the autistic support classroom. These 2 students are receiving, it's the VB MAP program, which is around communication, functional communication. It's very intensive teaching that happens one-on-one with the student. Our teachers are being trained in that, and they are taking to it quite well. And it's amazing to see the amount of progress just in a few weeks that our students have made. Next slide. Social skills is obviously a major part of the day in our autistic support classroom. On the left, Trey and Emily are learning how to interact and have a conversation with each other. And morning meeting on the right is always a part of the way the day begins in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade class. Next slide. Some of our students are in more inclusive settings. On the left, there's Joseph playing book bingo last week with his 1st grade peers. And then on the playground, particularly through our work with Playworks this year, our autistic support students are playing with their gen ed peers in games that foster communication. Next slide. One of the exciting things, and I'm going to let you hear a different voice now, is the communication boards that we have placed on the playground, thanks to the very hard, creative work of Mr. Storino, our speech-language pathologist. So I'm going to invite him up to talk very briefly about the communication boards.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, and thank you to Dr. Katrenbaum for giving me the chance to do what I love every day. If you can't tell, I'm a very young speech-language pathologist, so I haven't been doing this for a while, but I do truly love it, honestly. As Mr. Taylor shared, our autistic support students, many of which, some are non-speaking or have very limited verbal means of communication. That requires us in speech to come up with different ways of helping them to communicate. One of which, if you look at this picture, is using forms of augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC. My colleague and I, Lauren Hess, another speech language pathologist at Wyncote, a year ago, we were trying to come up with ways to find additional ways to help these students to interact with their peers. And unfortunately, you know, with AAC, sometimes it could be picture symbols, it could be speech generating devices, it could be, you know, any picture icon that really can help them to communicate. But on the playground, it's not so realistic. It doesn't make sense for students to be running around and to be holding these heavy objects or these flimsy paper when, you know, we know how kids can be. So after doing some research around their surrounding areas in the suburbs, we saw that some other school districts were using these playground communication boards to help these students do exactly that we wanted them to do. So through the PSEA, or our State Educators Association, and then actually the Cheltenham Education Foundation too, we acquired 2 communication boards for both of our playgrounds. I could not, and Lauren and I both could not have done this without, again, the help of Mr. Taylor with writing us some very key letters, and of course the support from Dr. Catronbone in our special ed office. We truly appreciate it. So thank you all again, and also, before I stop, I want to say, some of us, we may not remember exactly when we learned math, or reading, or narrative language, or how to perform story retells. But I truly believe that every single one of us remembers a moment of time where we were on the playground, running around, and doing something, enjoying and participating in some form of social interaction with other students. Because we remember those moments, they shape our development in some way, shape, or form. That's exactly the same reason and our goal as speech therapists with putting these boards up, to give those students those same types of interactions that we all are so fortunate to have had. So thank you.
So you'll remember last year we put a lot of time and energy, and Dr. Scriven came over to cut the ribbon for our sensory hallway inside. This year we've really concentrated on outside. How do we make it a much more inclusive setting? So there are many ways to tell the world who we are. And this is our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade autistic support classroom. I want you to listen carefully so you can hear the communication device with one of our students communicating to you our Roars Pledge.
Respect others.
I will act safely.
I arrived to the shower. I was very kindness. Winkle wars with prize.
So I want to thank you for letting us tell you who we are tonight. And I want to simply close by thanking you, President Henry, for your years of service, for not only telling us who you are, but showing us who you are and who we are. I'm grateful to each one of you on the board and to the members of the administration. And so I say to you what I've said before: I have the best job in town. And thank you for the trust you continue to place in me as the leader of Wyncote. It's my way of telling the world who I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, can I have a motion to approve the October 14th minutes?
So moved. Second, Zachariah.
All in favor say aye.
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 And the minutes are approved. Mr. Diazio will give the sunshine announcements.
Thank you. Good evening. The board met in executive session last week on November 5th, and the board discussed the superintendent's goals and matters of personnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. Next, we will have the student council report. Welcome, Ms. Stryker.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Good evening, school board members and parents. My name is Elizabeth Stryker. I'm representing the Student Council. Our last meeting was held October 15th. Since then, class elections have taken place. The winners for the roles of president are as follows. The class of 29 has elected Elizabeth Abelard, 2028, Kylie Payne, 2027, Mo Thatch, 2026, Simone Ellison Metcalf. Meanwhile, the DECA fundraiser for Hurricane Melissa relief drive for families in Jamaica concluded on November 7th. Thank you to everyone who could show your support. During our meeting, the Student Council has discussed the possibility of having a winter ball and a Valentine's Day dance later in the year. Our next Student Council meeting will be held November 19th, 2025. I conclude my statement.
Thank you, Ms. Stryker. Dr. Scriven will provide the superintendent's report.
So good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to the Cheltenham community. Prior to getting into my recognition, as many of you are aware, this is Madam Chair Pam Henry's last official legislative meeting. I had the opportunity earlier today to meet with some of our Panther football parents in a 4 o'clock session. I am not prepared to go into detail, as I shared with them, as we have 2 investigations that are still currently active. The one is a Title IX investigation. The other is an investigation of alleged hazing. I was able to field many of their concerns. I know we have parents that are here this evening that will be sharing their perspective on how things were handled. One thing I do want to clarify, which I feel is necessary, that one of the parents, a point which was raised, was that I alluded to that we had received information and it was about the safety of a particular student. That is not the intent of my message. It was safety of all of our students moving forward, and for that I do need to publicly apologize if that was received out of context. We also have a series of situations going on where parents have concerns around district safety, and subsequently we have reached out to the Center for Safe Schools, they'll be doing their first assessment on December 9th. At the high school. There will be a formal communication which goes out, but we have secured a contract with them to do assessments on all 6 of our buildings, including the administrative building, which would be 7 buildings in totality. That assessment is going to review our policies, our procedures, system structures, the physical technology, transportation, and those recommendations will be shared with the community at large as we go through each one of those assessments. I recognize that we are going through some trying times right now, and I am trying to be diligent and intentional in terms of how they are addressed. I also recognize that there has been a lot of discord around the decisions that I have had to make, and I honor the perspectives that are going to be shared this evening. As superintendent, I have to figure out, along with this board, how we navigate moving forward. So I look forward to your public comment. I look forward to your perspective. as we take notes, I will reflect, I will take action. And once we have closure on the investigations, I will be reaching back out to the Panther football parents and also sending out updates to the community at large. So I just wanted to get that out there. Know that that is not satisfying the current state of some, but recognize that we have to go through this process before I can satisfactorily bring closure. Pivoting, I would like to acknowledge in picture our board president, Pam Henry, and I had told her prior to update that picture because that was probably 2 or 3 years ago. As you can see, she's changed significantly. And we have this resolution of appreciation for her service. Whereas the Cheltenham School District Board President has faithfully and honorably served this board and the Cheltenham community for the past 4.5 years, and that's in the capacity as board president, demonstrating dedication to the mission, vision, and values of Cheltenham School District. And whereas through her tenure, she has provided steady, thoughtful, and inspirational leadership, navigating complex decisions, and fostering a culture of transparency, collaboration, and student-centered governance. And whereas she has led with integrity, wisdom, and courage, maintaining focus on academic excellence, equitable outcomes, fiscal responsibility, and the long-term success and well-being of the students, staff, and families of the district. And whereas her commitment to accountability, professionalism, and community partnership has strengthened the board's governance capacity, elevated strategic priorities, and advanced meaningful progress in alignment with the district long-range goals. And whereas she has approached her duties with grace, fairness, and steadfast resolve, serving as a model of ethical governance and demonstrating genuine care for every student, educator, and family in our community. And whereas her leadership has left an indelible mark on the Cheltenham School District, contributing to a foundation upon which future progress and student success will continue to flourish. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Cheltenham School District expresses its deepest appreciation and heartfelt gratitude to our board president, Pamela Henry, for her exemplary service, support, and distinguished leadership over the past 4.5 years. And be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the permanent record of the Cheltenham School District as a testament to her outstanding contributions and enduring impact on our school community. Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is just a memento to Madam Chair. School District of Cheltenham recognizes Pamela Henry for her dedicated service as School Board Director from 2017 to 2025. Yes, I know that the board has a presentation, but I also recognize and know that her family, members of her family are here as well. I want to pass it to Dr. Ross Whiting first and then to the board, and then have an opportunity for her just to have a picture with the family. Before we do that, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge all of those veterans who may be in our midst, as today is Veterans Day, and even though we don't close school, we do have to recognize and appreciate their service. So that's my official last duty for tonight, but that would have been a missed opportunity. Dr. White.
Thank you, Dr. Scriven. Chairwoman Henry, Ms. Lohman coordinated a donation on behalf of our colleagues to the Cheltenham Educational Foundation in your honor, and we have a bouquet of vibrant flowers to symbolize and recognize your service to Cheltenham School District. Personally, you've been a values-driven, resilient, and compassionate leader, and I'm grateful to have my board service have overlapped with yours. Thank you for your service to the Cheltenham community. And if any of our colleagues have comments as well, feel free to share.
President Pam. Yeah, thank you, Ross, for the words. I'll be very brief, but yes, also align 100% with the fact that I'm very proud that my board service overlapped yours. Our service on the Cheltenham African American Alliance and seeing you progress into your school board service was one of the inspiring moments for me as I considered board service, and you welcomed the feedback and you welcomed the opportunity to mentor and share information with me personally. And I know that most of the folks at this table have at least had one moment like that for themselves as well. But that, again, is the individual impact you had on me. But I will also share that I'm very proud, and your family should be too, of the impact that the decisions that you've been a part of making over your 8 years and the significance of what they actually mean and what they will leave is actually your legacy. So I'm proud of you. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to be your neighbor. And best of luck. Thank you for all that you've done for us. Yep.
I just wanted to echo that and say thank you. I'm also feel lucky that I have overlapped your service, and when I first joined the board 2 years ago, that you welcomed me with open arms, and I appreciate all the wisdom and advice that you've provided, and I know that your Tuesday nights will be lovely from now on. You'll be tuning in on Zoom because you can't help yourself. Thank you.
I'll be very brief and echoing my colleagues' statements for sure, but when Mr. Burdell Williams said, we've all had a moment, I quickly reflected back to when we ran together 4 years ago for your second term. It was my first term, and just when you run as a slate, getting to walk together in our community, meeting neighbors and discussing issues, it's just, you get to know each other so well, and really, I think back fondly to those days and kind of when I was learning the ropes. So thank you for allowing me one of those moments. Thanks, Pam.
So I'm also going to be very brief, but Pam is the reason why I'm here. And so I appreciate your gentle nudge and and I just want to say thank you. I'm also glad that our times have overlapped.
Yeah, public service is something that takes inspiration, as we just heard from Mr. Burdell Williams. So I know there's been a lot of thanks to Mrs. Henry, but I want to say officially thank you to Mom, who's back there, and all the other folks who you're standing on the shoulders of giants. And so just like Mr. Burdell Williams said, you continue that legacy, and that legacy started before you. And so I appreciate that. The support that you receive from your family, the support to keep going on Tuesdays and to keep leading with your heart. Thank you to all of you who showed up tonight, and thank you, Ms. Henry.
Jenny?
I would just like to know, what are you going to do with all the time that you're going to get? We'll enjoy them.
Thank you. Thank you. It has truly been an honor and a privilege. One, to serve alongside not only this board, but the board that I joined with. Dan couldn't be here tonight because he was traveling, and we spent 8 years getting to learn about this district and what board service was about. And what I am truly taking with me is the deep commitment, and what I'm proud of, having worked with each and every one of you, is the deep commitment that you all share, that we all share for the Cheltenham community, for the students, for the staff, for the administration, and for those long nights and long weekends and middle of the week phone calls, trying to understand, trying to make what seemingly felt like and was impossible decisions. Some of us were here through the pandemic, and having to navigate that was just a task that we took on with courage, with fear, but we kept moving. And we did what we felt in our hearts was always the right thing. To serve alongside a board where every decision that we make is really about what is best for our kids, and try to navigate that with all the different opinions and things that we have. I have had the distinct honor of being on the board and hiring Dr. Scriven, which is truly an honor and a decision that I will always hold close to my heart. And it has been a privilege walking alongside of you, talking about those tough decisions that have to be made when it just seems like there's no right answer. Sometimes getting it real right, and sometimes knowing that you have to do something different the next time. Dr. Scriven, you have shown me just the resiliency of a leader, the compassion of a leader, the transparency of a leader, and the forgiveness of sometimes just being in those rooms and again, none of the decisions are easy decisions that you have to make, but having the courage to come out and lead nonetheless through all of that. And so to my family, I appreciate. 2 of my children graduated from Cheltenham. My granddaughter graduated from Cheltenham. 2 of my nieces that are here graduated from Cheltenham. We have a long Cheltenham legacy. I have a grandson who will be in Cheltenham next year. So it was upon me to make sure that I help to create an environment that I feel safe having him walk into. And knowing that these folks that are sitting around this table will still continue to make those decisions, those tough decisions. To my husband, be careful what you ask for. You got me back on Tuesdays and on Fridays and on Saturdays. Thank you, all of you, for your support. And to my grandson, who on Tuesday nights, when I'm driving to the school board meeting, says, "Where are you going? Why can't you come over?" And I said, "I have to go to a meeting." He says, "Why do you have to go to a meeting at night?" Well, sweetie, I don't have to go to a meeting at night anymore. So on Tuesdays and on Wednesdays and on Saturdays, I can come and see you. So, and to the parents who are here, who I know how your hearts are heavy. I know the difficult decisions that we still have to navigate. As Dr. Scriven said, I honor your perspective. We will hear you tonight, and I can promise you, I still have 2 more weeks here, but even after I leave, this board and the superintendent will make the decisions that are in the best interest of all of our students. And so to that, thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I would be remiss if I don't acknowledge Ed, who has been... Ed, do you have 5 minutes? I need to talk to you about something, especially in those times where you don't understand what the right thing is, and to have your guidance, Ed, your counsel, and just walking me. Like, I have gotten, like, education for dummies through Ed. Like, just break it down to, like, the least common, the lowest common denominator so I can understand it. Thank you for always being there, Ed, and helping me out. And to the administrators who, some of us have been here for a lot of years together. Again, I thank you for your commitment, for your dedication to the school district. It was a tough decision to, if, part of me wanted to go and spend more time with my family. The other part wanted to stay here, but I leave this district. I feel like in really good hands to move forward, to continue to move forward. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to resume without trying to crack for the rest of the evening. We'll start with our committee reports, and I will be providing the financial affairs report. The Financial Affairs Committee met last Tuesday, November 5th. The agenda included the following topics: interim financial statements, budget and Act 1 timeline, budget impact items, 2026 budget projections, and board action items. With the interim financial statements, we reviewed the current balance sheet and the fund balance changes. The structural balance remained steady, no major variance occurred. Historical tax collection trends remain consistent with prior years, ensuring a stable revenue flow. The budget and Act 1 timeline. Our student enrollment remains stable and with minimal fluctuation. Building level budgets will be released in November, and preliminary prep for the budget continues through December. For Act 1 requirements, resolution to cap tax increases within index have to be adopted in December. The preliminary budget adoption is scheduled for February 2026. For the June 30th, 26 projection, year-end projection aligns with the current budgetary trajectory, maintaining balanced outlook, assuming no major state funding disruptions. The items for a board vote is 1, a budget resolution indicating that Cheltenham will not raise taxes beyond the Act 1 index. That vote is due December 2025. And we are also passing a resolution tonight to end the state budget impasse. The resolution will call for, which I will read during the consent agenda, full funding and release of all federal education funds owed to districts, compliance with Commonwealth Court rulings on equitable funding, repayment of interest and fees incurred due to borrowing during the impasse, and cyber charter education reform. More detailed information about the budget is posted online, and the next financial affairs meeting will be held on December 2nd at 7 p.m. Thank you. That concludes my. I'm ready. I'm all messed up right now. That concludes my report. Oh well. Eastern Center for Arts and Technology, Mr. Burdell Williams.
I'm good. I'll go first. Yep, thank you. The Eastern Center for Arts and Technology has not met for November yet. The next meeting of the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology Joint Operating Committee is tomorrow, November 12th at 8 p.m. at Eastern's facility on Turwood Road in Upper Moreland. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. Educational Affairs, Dr. Whiting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Educational Affairs Committee met on October 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. in a hybrid format in the Administration Building and via Zoom. First, Mr. White presented an update on safety and security, including an update on the security incident that occurred on Wednesday, October 8th during morning at Pittenson High School. A safety and security meeting was held after that incident that included CSD leadership that identified 2 areas of focus: students who utilize the bus and students entering the building. Mr. White reported that staff have increased their presence at entry points of the high school, instituted new identity verification procedures at entry points, and coordinated with the supervisor of transportation to conduct additional safety training for all drivers. In addition, the district is now working with the Center for Safe Schools to perform a safety and security audit that includes both physical security and school culture assessments and reports. Director of School Services, Ms. Collins, presented draft academic calendars for the 2026-2027 and 2027-2028 school years. The Academic Calendar Committee met in the month of November and will present a new draft at the November Educational Affairs Committee meeting. Finally, the majority of the meeting was dedicated to presentations by Dr. Pimentel reporting on continuous school improvement, and reports from Ms. Junod from Cheltenham Elementary, Dr. Robinson from Glenside Elementary, Mr. Lytle from Myers Elementary, and Mr. Taylor from Wyncote Elementary on each of their continuous school improvement plans for their respective schools. While principals emphasized specific approaches to meet the unique needs of students in their schools, there were several common themes across presentations, including a focus on teachers using ongoing formative data and regular check-ins, with summative data to identify opportunities for specific instruction and supports, the de-siloing and intentional connection of teachers, and empowerment of teacher leaders to share information as leaders in instruction and content areas and peers, working towards common grade-level instructional goals, building student autonomy and self-efficacy to engage in intellectually rigorous learning that is rigorous for each individual student depending on their needs, a greater focus on modeling and implementing effective Tier 2 small group instruction to provide more targeted opportunities for students who need additional supports, and across all areas alignment to our strategic plan, including teaching and learning, social, emotional, and mental health, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and climate and culture for student success. The next Educational Affairs Committee meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 19th at 7 p.m. in a hybrid format here in the Administration Building and via Zoom. This concludes my report. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Whiting. Ms. Lohman will provide the MCIU report.
Thank you. The MCIU board did not meet in October. The board's next meeting will be Wednesday, November 19th at 6:45 p.m. at the MCIU's main office at 2 West Lafayette Street in Norristown. This is my report.
Thank you, Ms. Lohman. Facilities, Ms. Mulhern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Facilities Committee met on November 5th in a hybrid format. After approving the September and October meeting minutes, Mr. Swigert began the presentation. We received updates on the stadium project, including where we are on project costs. The bid openings for the Cedarbrook and Glenside additions are happening this week and will be considered for approval at December's legislative meeting. District-wide, there have been paint touch-up projects done throughout the parking lots at our various campuses, and here at the administration building, there has been brick repair, a drain line replacement, and slate repair on the roof to stop some leaks. At the high school, a steamer and convection oven were replaced, as well as a freezer evaporation drain line repaired in the kitchen. A drain line near the nurse's office was also repaired and replaced. There were also some paint projects completed in the lobby to freshen things up. At Cedarbrook, a tree has fallen inside the fence by the track, and that will be removed completely. At Cheltenham Elementary, a steamer was installed in the kitchen. At Glenside Elementary, a hot well was installed. That's a thing that keeps food hot. It does not cook food, it keeps it warm. And at Wyncote Elementary, we're preparing to do some concrete work at the playground and the basketball area. So lots of projects, a very busy month for our facilities department. We will next meet next Tuesday. No, in 2 weeks, Tuesday to 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whenever it is. See, now I'm all off. Tuesday, December 2nd in a hybrid format. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Mulhern. Ms. Mulhern, you're up for the liaison group.
Yes, I am. Thank you. The liaison group did not meet last month. We are planned to meet Monday the 17th.
Thank you, Ms. Mulhern. Mr. Epps will provide the policy update.
Greetings, everyone. The policy committee last met in August 26th of this year, right at the beginning of the school year, and we will next meet on this Thursday, November 13th. However, there are 12 repeat first read policies on tonight's agenda. We won't take official action on those, but they cover topics everything from academic standards to district-wide safety, service animals, maintenance, transportation, and disciplinary procedures, and a couple of other items. And so if you do have perspectives, opinions, ideas towards those policies, please do come out on Thursday. That meeting will be held here in the administration building, but also via Zoom, so folks have options for joining. There are administrative regulations on the agenda. The board does not approve those administrative regulations, but they do outline how the policies will be implemented, so certainly something to be aware of as well as community members. That will conclude the policy report for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Epson. You're up for the legislative update.
Yes, I also have a brief legislative update. We all serve on different committees. The legislative committee is actually made up of representatives from around Montgomery County of different school districts. We gather and talk about legislative priorities and bills that might become law and how that impacts education. We have a resolution tonight that the board is considering around the state budget impasse, as has been previously reported to this body. Pennsylvania remains the only state in the country without an approved budget, and so the conversation at the national level is very similar to what's happening, unfortunately, within the Commonwealth. We did get news tonight that there may be a deal close or imminent, and so we do have a resolution to consider tonight that I'm sure my colleagues will want to speak on a little later. So that pay attention a little later on agenda for more around the state impasse. I will share that a law that is apropos to a lot of our conversations right now around safety. There is a new law to be taken effect in January around notification to parents and employees when there is a weapon discovered within school property. And so we do have a weapons policy that even goes into look-alike weapons and everything like that, and how those are not permitted on school grounds. And so the new law, previously school districts had to report it to the Department of Education and law enforcement. Now it's actually the law that school districts have to report any incident to parents and employees as well. And so I know that's something that our community members have been discussing over the last few months. The governor just signed that into law last week. So something, of course, And we saw our proactive administration actually send out notification before the law took effect, unfortunately, earlier this week, but certainly appreciate the proactivity. So again, I will yield the rest of my time for the report for our discussion on the resolution a little later. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. Now we will move to approval of agenda items on the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so before we go to the vote, any comments from the board? Ms. Lohman?
Thank you. I just would like to highlight that we're voting on $2,500 stipend for 5 paraeducators who have gone through the process of becoming registered behavior technicians. So I'm really proud of them for having achieved that, and just wanted to throw in my support for that process, and I'm glad that that's happening.
Thank you, Ms. Lohman. Mr. Epps?
Oh, left it on. Yes, I wanted also to applaud the work of the administration over the last 2 years, maybe even 3 to 4 years. We've heard about this big thing called the multi-tiered system of supports. We heard about it as an idea. We heard about it in terms of platforms that were being introduced to the district, and tonight on our agenda, we're actually seeing it in action as well. And so our mission is around inspiration and resources to every student, right? No matter their identity, no matter their perceived ability, this school district is a place that should serve reaching their full potential. And so the MTSS system intentionally finds what students need, right, on different tiers. And so tonight's agenda, actually, we will consider approving a contract with Pathfinders, who will provide actually one-on-one mentoring or one-on-one counseling and mentoring for girls within Cheltenham High School. And so this is an example of we're not waiting until it's 100 girls who need it. We're not waiting until it's 200 girls who need it. Actually, I think it's appropriate that I could say it. It's actually 10, right? This contract is for 10 people who we know will get use from this. And so this is an example of, again, 10 students, 5 students, we're going to get those students what they need to support them reaching their full potential. So I am excited to support that tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. Any other comments? Ms. Blitzstein?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to note, last month we saw like a huge number of staff who were going for PD, and I continue to see staff members supported in going outside for professional development. Hopefully they're bringing that back and turning it around to staff members who are here, and I also see administrators also going out for professional development. And I just want to say kudos to the administration for, encouraging that. We want our staff to be up to date and know about what makes best practices, because that's really constantly changing. And so I appreciate the attention to knowing what is out there, learning about everything from just literacy instruction, from the MCIU to just all kinds of, if you read the agenda, all kinds of topics. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blitzstein. Before I call for the vote, I would read the resolution. Resolution by the Board of Directors of the Cheltenham School District urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to end the state budget impasse. Whereas the Pennsylvania General Assembly has not yet enacted a state budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, resulting in a budget impasse that has persisted for over 100 days. And whereas this impasse has withheld over $3 billion in education funding statewide, forcing some school districts throughout the Commonwealth to borrow funds, deplete reserves, delay essential services, and consider program cuts that directly impact students, educators, and families. Whereas the Commonwealth Court has ruled Pennsylvania's school funding system unconstitutional, and the state has the responsibility to continue addressing the inequities raised by the court. Whereas school districts are legally required to adopt annual budgets by June 30th and operate with fiscal responsibility and transparency. while the state legislature has failed to meet its own budgetary obligations. Whereas the ongoing impasse threatens the stability of public education, undermines the ability of districts to plan for the future, puts current and future educational initiatives and capital improvements at risk, and places undue financial burdens on local taxpayers. Now therefore be it resolved that the Cheltenham School District Board of Directors, as a member of the Pennsylvania School Board Association, calls upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly and Governor to immediately pass a complete and responsible state budget that, 1, fully funds public education, including basic, special, and career and technical education, releases all appropriate funds owed to school districts without further delay, honors the Commonwealth's court mandate to address funding inadequacy and equity, establishes a process by which any interest and fees accrued due to borrowing throughout the impasse is repaid to districts, includes meaningful cyber charter funding reform by establishing a uniform statewide tuition rate for students attending a cyber charter school, and demonstrates bipartisan cooperation and leadership in the interest of Pennsylvania students and communities. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the Governor of Pennsylvania, the leadership of the Pennsylvania House and Senate, and the district's elected state legislators. Adopted this 11th day of November 2025. There any comments around the resolution? All right, Ms. Lohman?
Thank you. I can't help myself with this one. It's shameful that we actually have the distinction of being the only state in the country without a state budget that has been passed for this fiscal year. I do want to point out, though, that our district has been fortunate, thanks to the sound fiscal management of Mr. Swigart, that we have not been in the position where we've needed to borrow funds to keep the lights on, literally. Other school districts have. Some school districts are on the verge of closing if they don't get money from the state soon. So I think that we are fortunate where we are, but the fact that this has gone on for so long also speaks to the fact that what we really need is a completely different way of budgeting on the state level, which I don't know if we'll ever get, but it's been challenging, I know, and so I appreciate the administration's efforts in our district to keep things going without the need to borrow, accrue interest, take on more debt, whatever it might be. Like I said, as some school districts, including Philadelphia, have had to do.
Thank you, Ms. Lohman. All right, Ms. Blisting?
Thank you. Just a quick plug to anyone listening who might be interested in reaching out to our local legislators to encourage them to speedily bring this impasse to a close. You can always make your voices heard that way, and we encourage that support. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Burdell Williams?
Yep, Ms. Blisting, thank you for that point. The encouragement I want to provide our community and folks listening is not necessarily for reaching out to our local elected representatives who very much so align with a lot of the values and the energy that you've heard around the table, but to be uncomfortable potentially reaching out to someone from a community that doesn't necessarily align with our exact values, but does need to hear from folks who need to hear the perspectives of the actual community. They may not be in communities that are impacted by the restriction of funding. These things may not particularly bother them specifically, but they do have a duty as elected officials of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to hear that from all of the residents of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So yes, reach out to your local elected officials, and as needed, go ahead and pick up the phone and call our neighbors as well, because it's most of those folks who are finding themselves holding their ground for what we're seeing right now in Harrisburg. So thank you.
Aye.
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 So the consent agenda is approved. Next, we will have public comments on non-agenda items. I'm sorry. There I go. The next item on the agenda is item B. The approval of the superintendent's goals. Can I have a motion to approve?
So, second, Zachary Epps.
Before we call for a vote, any comments from the board?
First,
Mr. Riddell, I'm sorry, Mr. Epps. Mr. Epps.
Yeah, so first I want to thank the goals committee for folks. You know, we're honoring the president tonight. A lot of what the president does goes unseen, sort of like a coach in sports. But for the goals committee, a lot of the work that went into these goals is unseen. But I wanted to thank the folks who dedicated Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Saturdays to do that. But also, I wanted to acknowledge that when you look at these goals and even the metrics, there is and should be a clear through line from these goals and metrics to what we talk about when it relates to belonging, engagement, and seeking justice. And literally those words are in the goals and metrics that we want to use to track those goals. So don't want to belabor it, but certainly appreciate the direction that we're going.
All right. We will take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The superintendent's goals are approved. Now, we will go into public comments on non-agenda items. And so if you are in the audience and you have a comment, approach the podium, state your name, where you reside in the district. Comments are to be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Thank you.
Bottom. On the bottom.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to address the board, the administration, and other parents at large. Thank you very much. My name is Tony Ezel. I live in the Lava Rock section. Kids went to Glenside. I have 3 children actually 2 have graduated from the district. I have 3 in the district currently, and I'm here to address some of the things that were talked about with regard to the football team. Just a little bit of background to set the table. I moved here from Boise, Idaho. I know I don't look like I grew up in Boise because I didn't, but my career took me there, and I had a good friend there that grew up in this area. He grew up on Stenton Avenue, and he graduated from MLK. And when he came to visit me in my home here in Cheltenham, he said, "Why did you pick such a racist and bigoted place to live?" And I was thrown back by that statement, frankly. I did not understand it. Then he continued to throw anecdote after anecdote about what was happening in the community, and he just painted the entire community with an extremely broad brush. And I say that to you because this administration has managed to do the exact same thing with a community of young men attending Cheltenham High School. There was communication sent out that used 2 words that cannot be taken back: Title IX and hazing. And when this was done, we managed to do the opposite of seeking the safety of every student in the district. Because what it unleashed was a bunch of young men having to go and face questions regarding Title IX violations and hazing at different colleges around the U.S. This caused irreparable damage to those young men and the way that they're seen. I know that there were a lot of statements about safety when decisions were made. The decisions are one thing. The communication is an entirely different thing. So here's my question. Why is transparency so highly valued that we would neglect the safety, the reputation of each of these athletes based on information that was not completely flushed out? And the reason I know it wasn't completely flushed out is because we're still under investigation. Is that my warning? Okay. I'll wrap with that. I thank you, but I'll leave you this as a challenge. I want you to know that your attempt at keeping everybody safe fell short, as well as our trust in you.
How y'all doing? My name is Naeem Ferguson, from the Winco area. My son plays quarterback. I heard a lot of what's best for the kids. We have one of the highest tax communities with one of the worst facilities when it comes to dealing with the kids, getting in the schools, bathrooms, everything that we use that comes to the kids. I go to UD and some of the other schools, and they don't have any of the problems that we have when we come to and think about Cheltenham. I transferred my son in from St. Joe's Prep, which is a private school, because I thought that Cheltenham would be a good place to bring him. And in bringing him here has been the worst decision that I made in placing my son in high school. I want to know, when it comes to communication and it being criminal matters, why is it okay to speak to a kid that could potentially put himself in jail behind making a statement to a person at the school, and the parents are not even notified that there's something going on? So we have investigations going on with our kids, and we have no knowledge of there being an investigation, somebody being in danger, some harm or anything that's going on. We're the last ones to know. When it came down to this hazing incident and our boys, we all protested as parents about the coaching staff and how it was handling with the hiring process with a guy that was there, and these allegations and things didn't happen, and he got we called it a witch hunt, but he got speedballed out of there for somebody that they thought was adequate, who had these reputations behind them from another school. It wasn't a proper vetting of who we left in charge of our kids, but still they're in trouble, and we have to deal with, that. I want to know, when it comes down to our kids' reputation, we have NIL potential, we have college, we now have to move some of our kids from the district because they're getting called rapists and faggots and things of that nature from classmates and peers and other schools. And again, nobody thought about the other kids who wasn't involved that would still be affected. Again, my son's a quarterback, so he's the face of the program. Wasn't even in the locker room at the time. But we're going around, and now he's being accosted by different people about the fact that something happened, that there's no proof that it actually happened, but now we're dealing with the consequences. I went to a college the other day. My son is a highly sought-after athlete. And now his stock dropped because of the fact that we have the hazing, the Title IX, everything else that's coming behind this, without somebody doing their due diligence and getting the answers before they put it out there as a public, TikTok, Twitter, all these things where they are now. Like I said, if you can look up Cheltenham boys on TikTok and what they're saying about our boys. You think that things were handled properly when it comes to, how our boys are handled or what's going on? Also, again, private schools. What does the district have to do with kids that want to go to private school or counseling or anything? There's no support being as boasted as loud as the slander was boasted.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shawan Cowens. I have a son I live in Elkins Park. I have a son who's a junior on the football team and a daughter who just graduated last year. A couple questions I have just to piggyback on to what Naeem just said. What are the rules that are going to be surrounding students who want to transfer from the district? Because of what has happened, because the label has been put on all the young men here at Cheltenham who are on the football team, those who are either involved or not even involved in the situation, there are lots of negative effects on them. As he said, schools are reaching out to our boys. Things have come to a complete halt right now because colleges aren't interested in boys who may be involved in hazing and a tail end investigation. So those labels have been put out there, and our boys are now facing the consequences of that. So many of our boys want to transfer, they want to leave. So what are the rules surrounding that? And are there any remedies for students whose eligibility might be affected if they do transfer to another school? Also, many of our parents want to know when are players going to be allowed to retrieve their belongings from the locker room. When the game was canceled, we had to leave the school. They cannot get back to the locker room. So some of them have books. They may have belongings they need to get from their lockers. When can they go back in there? And then what is the plan for senior night? Again, our parents do want to know. I understand we did speak earlier this evening, Dr. Scriven, about senior night. Parents want to know, when will our boys be able to experience their senior night? They played football here for, many of them, for 4 years. They would like to get the chance to be honored for their time that they spent on the football team. And then also, does the district plan to continue our football program next year? That's on the minds of many of our parents. A lot of our boys, again, want to transfer because they don't think there's going to be a football program next year. So what's the status and when are we going to find out? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nashay Hodge. I have a senior. We reside in the Elkins Park area. Just have a few questions. I understand that investigations take time, but I have some concerns about the process. Why wasn't the situation addressed right after the initial incident on 9/3? Why did the team continue to practice and play games while the investigation was already underway? Why were multiple incidents allowed to occur before decisive action was taken? In closing, we just want to understand the timeline so we can trust that if something like this ever happens again, it will be handled immediately and consistently.
I got a junior on the football team, and I just want to know about.
Excuse me, state your name.
I'm sorry?
Your name?
Cindy Rowe. And I just want to know about the communication breakdown and the impact that has had on our kids' everyday life. I've overheard conversation with my son and his friends. I've heard words like rapists. I've heard questions about, are you guys going to be able to clean up the locker room before we all have to use it? Y'all are disgusting. Now, like, they're kids, right? That's not their fault. This is the culture that is now a part of this program and a part of this school, and other kids are now, joining in and using these words and these phrases, and our kids are taking the abuse. Some of them did nothing, right? And it doesn't stop there. As already mentioned, like, my kid had textbooks in his locker in the locker room. He hasn't been able to get those. Nobody's addressed that. Nobody said a word about how that's going to be resolved. My kid's gotten zeros and incompletes for assignments that related to those textbooks. And when he talked to the teachers about it, the teacher now, he says, is making a joke every day about his school books being locked up in his locker. Now, like, my kid loves that teacher. It's a joke, obviously. But make it make sense how a school kid with a school book in a school locker can't get to that because the school is standing in the middle. Like, that just makes zero sense. And the reputation of these kids has been changed forever. Some of them, this is their last shot. They're trying to make an impression. They're trying to make an impact. They're trying to get on a team or get a scholarship or even just get accepted at schools, and as others have already mentioned, they've been damaged forever. So we want to know like how this communication breakdown is going to get fixed, and how do you even resolve the issues with the reputation of these kids? It's in the media, somebody's talking to somebody, they're just not talking to us. And how do you take that back? How do you fix that? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nava Zell. I am from the Live Rock area. I have 3 kids currently in district, 2 have graduated. I think that it was interesting that there is a law that requires the school to tell parents if there was a gun in the school. That we had to make a law for the school to be able to tell us that something was happening in the school. And I see that, I don't know what policies are out there, that, we have a policy committee, but there needs to be something in our policies where this is supposed to be a partnership between parents and the school. Not the school against the parents, not the parents against the school, but we're supposed to be partnering together. And you can't do that if there isn't communication. Some people didn't know, most of us didn't know there was anything going on with the football team until the game was canceled on October 17th. That was the first time they had heard anything about any investigations, anything about possibly there being a fight somewhere or any issues at all in the program. And I don't think that that is just with the football team. I think that's with the school in general. I mean, our kids come home and say there was a fight, but the parents in the school aren't notified. Or if there's an issue in the school, we've had issues in the school with other problems. The school, it seems, have covered it up, haven't notified the parents. So I think there's a breakdown in communication in general, not necessarily with Cheltenham. Apparently it's with all schools, if there has to be a law for a school to tell me that there's a gun in the school. That should be the first thing that happens. Something happens, the parents should know. Parents are the ones who are taking care of the kids. We are with the kids more than we have more responsibility for our children than the school. So if you want something to happen with the kids, you have to let the parents know so they can handle it on their end. So I don't know what this school district has to do, but something needs to be done about the policy and the communication between the school and the parents. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Heather Marley. I have a daughter in Glenside Elementary. I'm in the Glenside area. I just had a couple questions about the CSS audit. I came in late, so I didn't hear what was covered, but my questions are, I remember from the communication that it said that there was going to be an audit on the high school that would be in December. And my question is it only on the high school in December? Have you scheduled the other schools? I believe that there were 7 buildings, I think, that were supposed to be part of the audit. So what I'm wondering is can we just schedule all of those at the same time? Or does it have to be one this month, one another month? Because I don't know how long those results take, but that might put us at the end of next year for results from those audits. And, as a parent in this district, I want to feel that my daughter is safe. So I would like to know about the scheduling of the audits for all the schools. I also want to know if the CSS audit is going to cover the lockdown procedure as well as the vulnerabilities in school. I want to know if the audit and school safety can be a regular board agenda item moving forward rather than a special item. And then my final question is, I want to know if we have a school safety committee. And if we don't, because there's a lot of committees like on this board that are very necessary, but school safety is super important. So I think it should be a standing item. And I think the CSS audit can be covered in that. But North Penn, I looked up, has a school safety committee, and I can read it to you who's on it. North Penn School District Safe Schools Committee consists of 3 school board directors, the coordinator of emergency management in safe schools, assistant superintendent, and student representatives, which I think is awesome. The committee meets publicly each month to discuss and provide policy-level guidance related to school safety. Members of the community are invited to attend. I don't know if we have that, but I think it would be awesome if we did. And that's all I have to say.
Are there any other members of the community that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Yvonne Montgomery. I live in Wyncote, and I have a junior son on the football team and a son who has graduated out and is excelling in college. I will state that from the very beginning, on October 17th, I thought that the email that was sent out into the world, to the community, about allegations of hazing on the football team was reckless. And it was reckless because there were no limitations in that email. The email went out and it made it sound like the entire 100 plus student athletes on that team were involved in hazing. And now that email is out into the world, the very reason these news cameras are here today, and there's no walking back from that. Each and every one of our sons has been labeled as a hazer and a sexual harasser or assaulter. Now, not only did you put all this information out into the world, after that happened, not on one occasion has the health, the safety, the welfare of those young men been checked on by this district. You have left them to fend for themselves in the halls of that high school, on the streets of this township, and the world in general. Social media has been horrendous as it relates to those boys because they took the email that was sent out to the world on the 17th and they have accepted it as the truth. So I want to know, once all your investigations are done and the 100 plus boys who are found not to have done anything wrong, what are you going to do as a district to make them whole? To bring back their reputations? Are you going to be just as loud and proud as you were on October 17th when you told the world that they were guilty, basically?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Riddell Crabb. I have a son in this district. We're from Elkins Park. And I want to take this opportunity to say that this parent base isn't unaware that a child may have been impacted and hurt in the incident or incidents, whatever has been recorded. We understand that an incident occurred and someone may have been hurt about it. So we're not up here excusing the possibility of that child not being in a safe environment or anything like that. That said, there are some concerns that we have relative to the boys that are left that were impacted by, as a result, that had nothing to do with it and have been labeled as such. And I have one question. The committee that picks are all district players. And our team, regardless of the record, was full of all district type of players. and a trainer was sent to that meeting as a representative of those boys, and you can just Google Suburban 1 Continental District and see how impacted our athletes were that were not represented on that list. Because a trainer that has nothing to do with these kids was sent on their behalf, because there's no representation. We want to know why the athletic director didn't go and attend that meeting that that district holds to vote on those kids. We sent the trainer. Why did we send somebody who just didn't represent our kids and our athletes to be recognized? So all of those things, all of those moments, senior night, I feel for those kids who are four-year athletes here who were stripped of that opportunity, and just the timeline itself. If September 3rd was the incident, you know, I got an email the other day with a green toy gun sitting on a car that said it was an incident at the school because somebody was in the teacher's parking spot with a toy gun on the seat, and that went out to the world. That went out to the body of parents that we get emails from. And there's a Title IX investigation. For those who don't know what that is and how important and impactful that is, that's a major thing for us to be blindsided by with not having knowledge of that. On September the 4th, we should have been recognized. There's an incident that occurred in the locker room. We are investigating it. You know, I don't care if the kids were suspended that were involved. But why were 8 weeks of football played with no discipline, no anything, and then all of a sudden it's all gone? Because you got some report about the same incident. It wasn't a new incident, it was the same incident. All of it systemic from the incident on September the 3rd. That's my questions. I yield. Thank you.
Okay, seeing that we don't have any other folks that are, have public comments. Moving on with one person, yes.
Deborah Craft, Elkins Park. I'm sorry. First of all, good evening. Deborah Craft, Elkins Park. I have a senior as well on the football team. I've listened to all my parents here, and we've been going through this for a few weeks now, and it's been tough. My question as I sit here, because I read body language, I look at some of y'all and I'm super disappointed. I see straight faces. I see people not even looking at us. I see people on their computers. My question is, do you care? Do you care? My son didn't have anything to do with this. There were more of that student body that had nothing to do with this than a few bad apples. They suffered along with them. Do you care? I have friends at other places calling me from my job that day. Hey, what's going on at Cheltenham? Oh my goodness. One, it's embarrassing. I'm a professional, somewhat. To have my peers call me and say that is embarrassing. It's all over the news. And just the way it's all over the news, will you walk it back when you're done and you realize few bad apples, not all bad apples? That's what I want to know. They're here. Will you go and you say, hey, guess what? We've done our due diligence, and it's not all of them. That's not Cheltenham High School. Will you do that? Or is it just going to fall by the wayside and just be a quiet time and y'all just continue with your careers and whatever you do, and those boys get to go until it dies down, if it dies down, with people saying something to them? You want to know, my son came home. He's resilient to a degree, had nothing to do with it. One of the students, they were just sitting around talking and joking. A student said to him, he says, oh, to this kid, oh, you know what? You're lucky we can't do anything. So they laugh. This kid says to my son, oh, why? Because we don't have a broomstick and cleats. Is that fair? You don't have to answer. I know you won't. You guys haven't so far, which is why we're really frustrated. So I'm going to end with this. I don't need 3 minutes to ask, do you care at all? Do you care?
Okay, so we are going to move on with our agenda. Are there any other comments from the community? So we're going to move on with the agenda. Future meetings are as listed on our agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Can I just, yeah. So I do want to respond. Yes, ma'am, I do care. I've taken 2 pages of notes. I've listened intently. I said that I would be following up with the parents that I met with earlier once the investigation, both investigations have concluded. And part of the dialogue that we did have earlier was about what the path moving forward does look like. So I struggle in terms of what I can and cannot say, but I did not want to leave that question dangling out there and me not specifically, as superintendent, answer it. So yes, and now I have to work on proving that in terms of action. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Dr. Scriven. A motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 The meeting is adjourned.